Well, it's going to be recorded, so everybody can come back and watch it later. We ready, Cal? Cal? The recording's on? Okay. My name is Mike Timer. I'm the chairman of the safety team, safety committee, and team lead for the safety team. As I mentioned earlier in the church service, the council created the safety committee in October 2018. The actual committee met and formed up in January of 2019. The team is made up right now of 4 people in the safety team. We have a number of people with the medical emergency team. We have a camera monitor team as well. But the team is created for things like a safety operations plan that covered emergencies, fire emergencies, weather emergencies, identify safety hazards around the church. We established a working relationship with law enforcement, the fire department, and EMT services such as the UPRAD. That's our ambulance service people. Having a team in place is biblical. You want to switch that slide? Next slide. You got it, Cal? Technical difficulties, what can I say? We can't use the little controllers from this far back, apparently. It's hard to do that. I don't think it carries that far. Nehemiah 4:9, but we prayed to our God and posted a guard day and night. Psalm 122:7, peace be within your walls and security within your towers. So as much as we'd like to believe that our church is a sacred place, the hate groups and the number of people that are out there doing things on their own, attacking the Palestinians, attacking the Jews in our own country, the white supremacists, the Antifa, it goes on and on and on. We have hate groups that have just multiplied in the past 12 to 18 months. You only have to look at the news and to see this kind of stuff going on. Next slide. Let me introduce our safety committee. It says 2020, well, it's a holdover from 2020. Same safety committee. Myself as chairperson, Tim Rucker is secretary, Rusty Merrill is the MERT team lead. That's the medical emergency response team. Martine Vogel and Dan Vogel make up the current safety committee members. We also have volunteers for our camera monitor and that I'll talk about here in just a little bit. We're always looking for volunteers. We'd like to find more volunteers on our safety committee to be the advocates for the safety team. And we also need more safety team members. Right now our coverage is pretty much limited to Sundays and occasional special events. Next slide. Safety operations plan requirements and considerations. We obviously need to have a balanced approach that integrates crime prevention strategies and security technologies with the overall mission of the church. What a lot of people don't realize is we have a responsibility to protect those that come within our church. We are legally liable, and we have had conversations with our church insurance company, and we have worked alongside of them, and they provided us with a lot of templates for our policies and procedures. as well as the Homeland Security, FEMA, FBI. They've all provided various helpful templates for us to develop our safety operations plan. Next one. I was talking about, watching the news at night. These are statistics that were gathered by Carl Chen, who is the president of the Faith-Based Security Network. And he started tracking incidences back to 1999 up to 2017. Unfortunately, the team that's together right now trying to put together 2018, 2019, 2020 statistics, they haven't published anything yet. But as you can see, the trend of church incidences is going up rather dramatically. And what's interesting is, if you'll notice, the Methodist Church as a denomination, we're third on the list of the most violent incidents, behind the Catholic and the Baptist. And you'll also notice that most of the incidences occur outside the building itself. About 26% of those incidences occurred inside the church. Talking to our law enforcement agencies here in the local area, basically what they have advised the safety team to focus on is help keep them outside, help keep those incidences outside, slow, delay, whatever it takes to keep them outside until they can arrive and deal with the situation. And that's the focus of those kind of things. Next slide. What's important going forward, I think, for everybody is that if you see something, say something. This is really important. A lot of people don't want to get involved. They don't want to say anything. And if you look at a lot of the violent incidences that have occurred in the past few years, you'll find that people knew, people suspected, people saw things. There were red flags, but nobody wanted to say anything. Nobody wanted to get involved. And I feel sorry for people that saw them coming, knew they were a threat, and didn't do anything, and then now they were a witness to what happened. I can't imagine the guilt they must have over this. So if you see something, anything, that say something to the safety team, to anybody at the church. We are here for that reason. The safety team is here for that reason. Next slide. The safety team has installed security cameras. You notice our sign out front as you're driving in. I deliberately positioned it that way so that when headlights hit that sign as they turn in, that sign lights up. Don't know if you've been here at night, but that sign will light up. It's a reflective sign. It's a deterrent. That sign alone is a deterrent. If we did not have any cameras at all, that sign alone will slow things and make people think twice about coming in and doing bad things. The cameras that we have installed were installed from a playground fund back in 2019 that was released to the safety team, and we chose to use it to install cameras. So we were able to install 8 cameras around the church and a couple inside. We also won a grant that will buy us 8 additional cameras and protective glass laminate, which we have on the 3 glass main entrances. This was introduced to me in the beginning back in 2018 about this laminate from one of our risk assessments from one of our police officers. Actually, I think it was a sheriff's deputy that told me about this laminate. And the laminate that we have is not bulletproof, but it is blast proof. It's tornado proof. The flying debris that comes from tornadoes. If somebody tries to throw a brick up against the glass to break in the glass so they can get inside through the main entrances, they're not going to be able to do that. This laminate holds that glass together. It's going to shatter, but it's going to hold it together, and they're not going to be able to enter in that through those glass doors. Now, I did ask the police officer, I said, well, what about the other windows? They could come in through one of the other windows. And he says, yeah, but a threat wants to get this done quickly and get it over with, And so they're not going to mess around. They'll find our doors locked. They'll throw stuff. They may try to shoot the windows out, whatever. They're not going to break through, and they're not going to get through the windows. So we're pretty comfortable with that laminate. There is a bulletproof laminate. I think the price we were quoted for our 3 entrances was $68,000. I knew we were not going to be able to afford bulletproof glass, but we do have very, very good protective laminate now that will keep them from entering the church. And that's the whole thing, is to slow them down, prevent them from coming into the church. Next, we have a special security camera team. They see everything that's going on. When we're in the narthex or walking the parking lot, the security camera people can tell us if there's somebody driving up behind us, coming up the driveway, there's people blocking the driveway or whatever, suspicious activities. They'll call it to our attentions over the radios, and we will go and investigate them. We kind of see them as our guardian angels watching over us, not just the safety team, but everybody in the church. Next one. We have safety team qualifications. This was one of the things that our insurance company did require for us to have qualifications and application and background checks and so forth. So we do have a number of things that a person interested in joining the safety team, there is a process, and they are checked out. And you'll see some of the requirements here. One of the things right now, we are so small with just 4 of us, 4 safety team members. I mean, we basically are here 50% of the time, at least 50% of the time. That's one of our requirements. The next one, the safety team applicant must be older than 21. It's not hard to meet that requirement with this congregation. They have to provide 3 references, not family. Submit the background release form, interview with the safety team lead and 1 other senior member, and successfully complete the required training. We are in the process right now, the committee is in the process right now of approving a training curricula for the safety team. You don't necessarily have to be an ex-military or ex-police or anything like that. We will train. Next slide. For Sunday services, we lock the doors. As soon as about a little while after the service starts, we lock the doors. Obviously, the greeters have come inside to the sanctuary, so we're in the narthex, basically letting any latecomers come in through the door. And guess who tells us who's coming in late? The security camera people are telling us who's coming in on which door, so that we can go to that door and let them in. We do make sure at the end of services, before we leave the building, we make sure that all the doors are locked. We do know that there are committees and so forth, people staying behind, meetings and so forth, but they're responsible for, if they unlock the door, they're responsible for making sure those doors are relocked. But we do make sure they're locked before we leave. We do stay with the collection counters until they've finished their jobs to make sure they stay safe. Next slide. The east door is always going to be locked before and during and at the Sunday services. Now, right now, we have had the kids coming in, parents dropping them off and coming in through the east door. We did have them unlocked for a period of time for that, but in general, the east door will always be locked. You will have to enter through the narthex doors. There's just not enough team members to be at every door and be out in the parking lot, which we do patrol. You see us out there with our vest, our colored vest, bright colored vest. That's for 2 reasons. One is we've got some members that drive a little fast down the north side, and we watch the north side at the end of the service because we have people trying to get across to the other parking slots, and so we want to make sure they're getting across safely, and we slow people down. It was kind of amazing how people slowed down when we started wearing the vests. Thank goodness they slow down now. So it's to keep us safe and to slow down people so that we can help them get across. The other reason is we walk around the parking lot with that vest on. Guess what people see from the street? So if we've got anybody with ideas of breaking into cars, stealing cars, coming in to do whatever they would like to do to our church, they're going to see us walking around. That is a deterrent. That is a deterrent. We are checking cars. We're looking for broken windows. We're looking for people in between cars that are sneaking around, looking to break into cars and so forth. But just having us out there in a vest does provide a deterrent, just like the camera sign provides a deterrent. If a camera person sees something, they will tell us, and we'll go out there and investigate. Next slide. I gotta flip over here. Is that what's up next? Okay. I think I've already talked about the cameras that we have, and the person watching the camera, if necessary, they will dial the 911 and call police, fire, whatever is needed, emergency medical, whatever. This is just a dedicated position that we've created, and that's their job, is to simply watch the cameras and be our eyes where we can't have eyes. And if anybody would like to volunteer for that, we would be glad to talk to you about that. Next slide. This is a picture of what our security sashes look like. We wear them on our belt when we go on duty, and it's basically whenever 911 is called, all the safety team members will put this sash on. It's important for us not just to be safe for us with emergency, with police and sheriff's deputies running up to the building, to know who we are, and we're not the bad guys. It's also for the emergency vehicles like fire and ambulances coming up, so they know who they're going to approach, who's going to be the contact for them to direct them where they need to go. And it's only worn by the safety team members, and they can only be purchased, by the way, by church safety team members. The vendor of this particular product actually called up the pastor to make sure I was a member of the church and was on the safety team, before he would even allow it to be shipped. So they vet everybody. Next slide. So we have a medical emergency response team. We call them MERT team. They are going to provide immediate first aid, CPR, or AED. Your MERT team is Rusty Merrill, lead, Sharon Pletcher, Carol Gall, Patty Metz, and new one, Ruth Hoffman. We have a chair back there, and you've probably noticed the little sign on the back of the chair. That's where the MERT team member will sit, where we can find them, where you can find them, anytime you need any kind of medical assistance. Next slide. So where are our supplies? We have 2 locations for our medical equipment. Our first aid kit, trauma kit, is located in the kitchen, in a drawer. And the AED, if you look where on the opposite wall of the kitchen door, you will see the AED. And this is very strategically located so that it can be used quickly, both in our narthex sanctuary and in the fellowship hall, and out on the parking lot if we needed it. Next slide. Upstairs, the first aid trauma kit is located in the cabinet right there by the stairs near the admin office. Next slide. Let's talk about fire evacuation, if we have to evacuate for a fire. This map right here gives you an idea of where we're going to move people. We're going to direct people. The ushers will direct people, safety team members will direct people to the Baptist parking lot. Yes, I have already talked to the Baptist preacher and their safety team members, and they're more than happy to accommodate us in case of a fire. And as a matter of fact, if it's inclement weather, they've invited us to come inside. The children will be evacuated that are in the Sunday school. They'll be evacuated to the playground area, which will allow us to then help parents connect and get their children. Next slide. Weather emergencies. We've identified shelter rooms, and these are rooms without windows. These will be our shelter rooms. You'll see a magnetized little sign on the door that says shelter room. And right now we have rooms 105, 106, which is commonly referred to as the multipurpose room, and as well as 109, 110. Neither one of those rooms have windows. We want to keep away from windows during storms because of flying debris, potential for flying debris. The basement would sound like an obvious place, but it has, if you've noticed, windows all the way across. So I didn't include the glass laminate for the basement windows because I didn't want to press my luck on how much we put the grant to. We kept it basically under $10,000, and they would have added that. It would have gone over $10,000. Not that that was a limit. It was just that I felt there was a better chance of getting it, keeping it to our entrances. We can still put in another grant to get those windows covered. The basement could become a better weather evacuation area. The problem with that is the stairs. Next one. We have a safety committee webpage. We highly encourage everybody to go to our webpage, the church webpage, look under where it says Learn, and under that tab you will find the safety committee webpage. Next page. Documents, the safety operations plan is all there. Well, it's all there. It's mostly there. There are certain things that we don't want public, and that's how we train the safety team. We don't want the public to get information. We don't want the bad guys to get information on how we train, how we respond. So that information will not be there. But we do have things like the safety team protocols, disruptive person protocol, bag package carry-in policy. Now this is kind of interesting. There's a story here. And it's a story that a lot of churches experience. They'll have an unknown person walk in with a tactical bag that's full. And they sit down in the church, and what are they doing with their hands? Are they reaching for that bag? Are they putting their hands inside the bag? What are they going to pull out of the bag? So we had an individual that came to our church during, I think it was an Easter service in 2019 or 2018, I can't remember. But they walked into the church just before we had the policy. They walked into the church, they had a big tactical bag. They drew our attention. They sat down at church stair right at a second from the back row with the bag right in front of them. We didn't know who he was. He wasn't a member. He had this big tactical bag. He was dressed appropriately. I sat over and I watched his hands the whole church service to make sure I saw where his hands were going. Luckily, nothing ever happened. Somebody dropped him off. He wanted to go to a church service, and he was eventually picked up by somebody else. But we didn't know at the time that somebody dropped him off. He sat out on the porch, and he got on a cell phone, and we watched him with the cameras. We had the cameras at the time. We watched him sit there with a cell phone, the bag in front of him, and he waited and he waited. Finally got up, he went into, and I met him coming in, and he asked where the bathroom was, and I showed him where the bathroom was. And then I went back upstairs to the cameras. We were putting stuff away with church service over. Well, he disappeared. From the time he went in the bathroom, we lost track of him. Nobody was really watching the bathroom doors. At the time, it was not a policy. We didn't have any policy around that. With the cameras, we were able to play back and find out that he left through a side door. But we were getting ready to do a room-to-room search for this guy. Because, again, we didn't know what his intentions were. Online training, you'll notice a number of videos I've circled one that says online awareness and training, and I encourage all church members to view that video if they can over the internet. The other one that I encourage everybody to look at is the Safe Sanctuary training. Now, this is a supplemental to our current training, and it came from a training program that I had put together with the USOC for coaches and athletes that were visiting the Olympic Training Center. Basically, it was information that I got from their lawyer that helped them develop the program for the USOC. It's some information about, it was missing, I think it's missing from our training, the Safe Sanctuary training. You know, how do you recognize what's called grooming from a sexual predator? How do you identify that? How do you know? And then what do you do when a young person comes up to you, a child comes up to you and says something to you that makes no sense? How do you know that that's a problem? You know, and how do you address it? So I felt like some of that was missing in our current training, and I pulled all this from online training that I developed with the USOC for our sport. And so it talks about some rather disturbing details. One of the details that really bothered me was on average, this is average, some less, some more, but on average, an abused child has approached an adult 7 times before the adult takes it seriously and investigates. Let that sink in a minute. 7 times they've tried on average. That's disturbing to me. So it talks about that. It talks about what to look for in what the predators are doing. Predators like to be helpful, kind, and volunteer. How many people does that describe to you? That's just about everybody. This lawyer did a presentation where he showed faces, about 100 faces on this slide. He says, pick out the predators. These people look like our next door neighbors. They look like our brothers and sisters. They look like our aunts, uncles, grandpas, grandmothers. It looked like everybody. These people are not easy to identify. There is no characteristic that you can see. And just to finish up this last comment, as you can tell, I'm a little hot on this particular topic, especially because of my involvement with the USA shooting and the USOC and the sex abuse that went on that people ignored too long. And the USCC got burned about. Luckily, my sport, we never had the problem, but it exists out there. And we do background checks. That's great. Background checks catch the 5% that actually got caught. There's 95% that are still out there. This lawyer showed us a video, an interview of a sexual predator in prison, and they asked him how many kids he had abused. He said, well, working with my therapist, I think it's somewhere around 2,500. He'd been abusing children since he was 13, got caught when he was 43. I mean, that's the pattern. They get into it young, probably because they were abused, and then they carry it on until they're caught. And what's interesting is this guy had no remorse about anything that he did. And that seems to be the pattern. There's no remorse. So with that happy note, I will end the presentation in 20 minutes, hopefully. I think I did it in 20 minutes. Any questions? Cal, you can stop the recording now.